I want to share why learning to mother ourselves is so important and how we can do this through the extraordinary vessels. Mothering, I still call my company Wellmother because I feel it's important that we understand that we always need to be able to mother ourselves through our whole lives, especially if we had a really difficult relationship with our mother. That may be quite challenging. And I also want to share how the extraordinary vessels can help us do this. The extraordinary vessels in Chinese medicine are really the vessels that are present when we're in the womb. The Chinese understood very much the importance of our life in the womb. In fact, they had a name for it, they called it fetal education. And they understood that our mother is our first connection to earth, is our first relationship. And the nature of our relationship with our mother will determine the nature of all other relationships. But also, I want to focus on the mothering aspect. It's really how much we felt cared for when we were in our mother's womb, and also how much we felt cared for in our early years. Modern psychologists have understood the fundamental nature of this relationship, and so did the ancient Chinese. And they understood that through working with the extraordinary vessels, we are able to modify what they call our ancestral patterns, our essence. So I want to just explain a bit more how this relationship develops and why it's contained within the extraordinary vessels, and how we can transform it really through connecting with different stages of it. Because of course, when we're in the womb and when we're being born and in our very early years, we aren't able to change our mothers. Well, we're never able to change who our mother is, but we don't have the capacity to understand mothering in any other way. And this is what I find when I work with clients. A lot of their abilities to nourish and nurture themselves are because they never really, or their difficulties with being able to nourish and nurture themselves are because their relationship with their mother didn't really give them that model. I know it's for me as well. My mother was actually bipolar and depressed when I was in the womb, and it's taken me really most of my life to clear some of those patterns and to understand how I can be the mother to myself. Even if our biological mother wasn't able to mother us in the way that we needed, then we have the capacity to discover that within ourselves. And so as we can go back with the extraordinary vessels, they enable us to go back to that time, not necessarily to relive it, but to repattern it by freeing a blockage in any of the vessels, either through movement, through shiatsu. We can find that old patterns can be transformed, and then we can start to have a more conscious awareness of actually what would our ideal mother be, whether we're a man or a woman. And how can we embody that for ourselves? How can we start to look after ourselves? How can we hold ourselves? How can we support ourselves? A lot of that, it may be touching parts of ourselves which are on the vessels, being able to protect our heart, being able to hold ourselves, to reassure ourselves, to be kind to ourselves. But also how we sometimes need to be more independent. We need to mother ourselves. This is very much an aspect of the linking vessel and the penetrating vessel, but we also need to be able to open out, and maybe we also need to mother others. So learning how to mother ourselves is really important, but how to mother other people in a way that's appropriate for them, because when we say the word mother, that means so many different things to different people, and we need different aspects of mothering through different stages of our lives. Obviously, when we're in the womb, we're completely dependent on our mother. And then birth is the first stage of separation. And then hopefully our mother can allow us to find our way through the world bit by bit through our lives. Maybe we at some points are offered an opportunity to mother our own children, mothers, but fathers can have more of a mothering role as well. And then as we go through our lives, different phases of our lives which are regulated by the extraordinary vessels, we can say that each of these phases of our lives gives us opportunities to transform. So when we mother children ourselves, we can transform our relationship to our mother. And then I like to think of the menopause, which is much more clearer for women than for men, aging. But for women, it's the end of fertility in terms of mothering another being. But now, in our menopause, we can start to be the baby ourselves, or maybe not the baby, but that aspect of ourselves that needs mothering. We can focus our attention and our awareness more on that, and that's why the Chinese called it the second spring. It's a change in our nature of our relationship for mothering. Maybe we mother our grandchildren, and if we don't have children, whether we're a man or a woman, we can still have a mothering role. So what does mothering mean? Mothering is that holding of someone, accepting them, loving them unconditionally for who they are, but also being able to release them with opening up the penetrating vessel, with opening up the linking vessels. We enable them to find their own way in the world and to nourish themselves. So they have that capacity to nourish themselves. How do we take our energy in apart from our own biological mother? It's also very important, our relationship to Mother Earth. And that's the other aspect of mothering that I want to explore, that especially with the extraordinary vessels, there is a very deep connection through the penetrating vessel, through our roots and putting down our roots and connecting to the earth. And we need Mother Earth for our survival. But also we need to be able to learn how we can give back to the earth and how we can mother the earth. So it's not just about receiving all the time, it's giving and receiving. And there's this dual movement in all of the extraordinary vessels of opening up to receive, but also opening up to give. Open up, we can give to our mother, to Mother Earth, but we can also receive. And so I think that's what I want to say. I'll just briefly explain the main vessels. You can look up more information on those, but just a brief recap. Our mother, our biological mother, may nourish us very much through her breasts, and that's related to the penetrating vessel. And by working with our breasts, we can transform that relationship. Our biological mother, our first nurturing was through our navel. They're very important points on the extraordinary vessels around the navel. That represents our connection to the umbilical cord and to our placenta. And we have to remember that that was also, we had that nourishment through our placenta, through our direct connection to our mother. Many of the points on the vessels are around our navel. And also, once we are born, we have more of a capacity to move away from our mother. That's why I was showing about the opening of our heart to others, to the earth, to receive. That's more about the linking vessels. And then the stepping vessels, as we walk on the earth, we can both give to the earth and we can receive from the earth, and we can take our independence and learn to mother ourselves as well as others. So I invite you to just ponder what mothering means. I didn't want to go into all of that in this video, but just invite connections with those different phases of your lives and how you feel mothering and your relationship with your biological mother influences you now, and how by working with the extraordinary vessels you can always transform that relationship even after your mother, your biological mother, has died. So thank you for sharing this short focused time on what mothering means to you and how you can support these energies through the extraordinary vessel.